They say that in every generation there are 36 hidden saints, Lamedvovniks they're called in Yiddish. On these 36, God's radiance rests. The Lamedvovnik is so humble that he purposely conceals his virtue behind a mask of anonymity. Only when the Jewish community is in danger will he emerge from his disguise as perhaps a modest tailor or a blacksmith and use his mystical powers to defeat the enemy. Once successful, the Lamedvovnik resumes his humble ways, but in another village where he is again unknown. I mention this because in a little town in Eastern Europe, there once lived a couple so poor that they could barely manage to survive on weekdays. To celebrate holidays was almost too painful. There was little they could scrape together to distinguish the sacred from the ordinary. One spring, the husband died, and the poor widow was at her wit's end. Passover was approaching, and she had nothing to prepare a seder with, nor anyone with whom to celebrate Passover. Too proud to beg, she decided simply to sit and remember the story of the Exodus. God would forgive her for doing nothing more. On the morning before the seder, there was a knock at the door. An itinerant wanderer asked whether the widow would permit him to stay. He knew Passover was to begin that evening, but he was too weary to continue on. He would collect some firewood and make a place for himself by the stove. He had also brought with him matzah and the poor makings of a seder meal. He would be thankful if she might permit him to celebrate with her. The widow had given up all hope of a seder and readily agreed such a generous offer. Who could refuse it? Evening fell, and the wanderer began to recite the story of Passover as she had never heard it before. In a sweet, gentle voice. They shared the modest food and 4 thimblefuls of wine, wished each other good Yom Tov, and retired each to his place. When the widow awoke early in the morning, the wanderer had gone. It was as if he had never been, except for the memory of his voice. Then she wondered whether an angel had been to visit and perform a miracle. But you and I know that it had been a Lamedvovnik.
So what's your point?
Hey, Manny. This is today. I don't think we should count on any angels.
Obviously, Manny was inferring that with enough faith, anything is possible.
Well, that's one interpretation. On the other hand, you could say, hey, you think you got troubles? Just think of that poor widow. Now, she had real sorrows.
Manny, there's a guy for you online, too.
All right, all right. Oh, that woman. If I didn't love her so much, she would drive me crazy.
So, what's the story on Seder?
Well, I think we ought to wait for Benji. He's in this, too.
Come on, Benjamin. He's a crazy college kid. He's going to go along with whatever we say. He never opens his mouth anyway.
Look, fellas, we're not here to talk about Ben. With Pop and Mom not coming up for Seder, it's up to us to pull this thing together. All the cousins are counting on it. Why, our family's always hosted the Seder.
Hey, Davey, you can strum a few Hebrew tunes on your guitar, and we'll throw in a blessing here or there. It's that simple.
Are you kidding? First of all, you're not allowed to play a musical instrument at a Seder. And besides, our brother the scholar has other plans, I'm sure.
Well, I have done some preparation, and if you don't mind, I thought I'd begin the Seder with some historical background. Pesach, or as we call it in English, Passover, is the Jewish festival commemorating the deliverance of the Hebrews from over 2 centuries of Egyptian bondage. It is in Exodus, the second of the 5 books of Moses, that we read about the children of Israel's servitude to the Pharaoh. and how God chose Moses to lead the people out of slavery. Only after 10 abominable plagues did the Pharaoh experience a temporary change of heart and allow the Hebrews to leave. The Jews had to leave in such haste, there was no time for their bread to rise, and thus we eat matzah to remember the unleavened bread. In fact, the Torah calls Pesach the festival of the unleavened bread. Still, the most common name is Chag HaPesach, referring to the 10th plague, when God sent the angel of death to all the homes in Egypt to slay the firstborn. But the Jews were told to mark their doors with the blood of the paschal offering, and God fulfilled his promise to pass over the doors of Israel. In addition, Pesach marks the early harvest festival in Eretz Yisrael. This isn't boring, is it?
No, it's great. But you know me, I just like things simple as possible.
Well, I'll edit it then.
Well, what else do you guys expect to do?
Hey, you're a part of this too.
That call on the phone was your kid brother. He's going to be a little late.
That's okay. We'll tell him his part when he gets here.
So, did you figure out how to work this seder?
Well, it certainly would be a lot easier if Pop would fly up from Miami. He's been taking care of the seder since we were born. It's his baby.
Ah, no, that's not true. Every Jew must feel as if God delivered him personally from bondage. I know a lot of people today couldn't care less about these ancient customs and rites, but let me tell you, boys, it's these customs that remind us that we're part of a distinct history. If we forget these, we might as well kiss our heritage goodbye.
Don't worry, Manny. David's gonna save us all. He's prepared an opening speech for the seder that will blow you away.
Wait a minute. You guys are jumping the gun. First, you have to prepare your homes.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Mom always used to do that.
Dietary laws regarding Passover are very specific. Not only are you not permitted to eat leavened bread, but you're not even permitted to own any leaven. Now, these are called
Chomer.
You boys are laughing, but you've got a lot of work ahead of you. You probably never appreciated what your mother did. To me, Passover also means spring cleaning. But it's much more. The whole house must be clean, spotless. Then all the dishes, silverware, pots and pans, and cooking utensils have to be changed completely, not to mention the continual scrubbing and scouring of the refrigerator, the table, the sink, the cabinets. Oh, and of course, don't forget the oven. You must kasher that for Passover. Scrub every inch of it thoroughly, and then heat it up to the highest degree possible for a full half hour. Many people even cover the burners or change the grates so that the Passover pots never touch the parts of the stove that are used the rest of the year. Now, once this is done, you can go out and buy your groceries. That is a project unto itself. Make sure that everything says kosher for Passover. Otherwise, your work has been for nothing. Oh, you know, just thinking about it makes me dizzy. I'm tired before I even begin.
Can I get something for you, miss?
Oh, very funny. You know, I have a right to schmooze a little, too. Oh, David, your brother Benji called again and left this number. One of you boys should call him.
Once that woman starts, she's like a machine, and there's no way to turn off her motor. But Myrna's right. There's a lot to be done. By the evening before the first Seder, most everything has to be ready.
I remember. The night before Seder, Dad always hid 10 pieces of bread around the house.
Oh, yeah. What was it you had to carry? A candle, a wooden spoon, a feather, and a bag.
That's right, but the way I remember it, you were the one who made us check every inch of the house.
So I'm compulsive. What else is new?
Well, wasn't there a special blessing first?
Naturally, you can always count on the blessing. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy with his commandments and commanded us to remove the leaven. This search is called Dikat Chametz. You light the candle, you search each room of the house. With a feather and a wooden spoon, you sweep the chametz into the bag. After the leaven is wrapped securely, you pronounce,
Any leaven which may still be in the house, which I have not seen and have not removed, shall be as if it does not exist, and as the dust of the earth.
Very good. The next morning, anything not kosher for Passover must be burned. This, in fact, comes right out of Exodus. You shall destroy leaven from your houses. That's the quote. That morning, you repeat the nullification once more.
Mom gave her boxes of food to the needy. But there is also mechirat chametz, the legal transaction between a Jew and a non-Jew for the purchase of the chametz before Passover.
Oh, come on, it's not a real sale. As far as I know, you buy it back after Pesach.
Oh no, this is an actual sale. Although the Jewish seller might want to buy back the food after the holiday, neither of them has to do it.
I don't know how we're going to get all this together. Oh, Pop, how could you desert us like this?
Relax, you'll get indigestion. It'll all come together, it always does. By the way, don't forget to call your brother Benji.
Well, I figured you guys were getting nervous, so I came up with a game plan. You would be so kind as to move these things here. Thank you.
I was about to call Benji, but I gotta hear this first.
Stuart, what do you think you're doing? A presentation for your ad agency?
Look, will you give me a break? You've got your methods, I've got mine. Besides, I couldn't bring the real thing. This place is full of chametz.
Well, now, look what we have.
I let you do your bit. Now it's my turn, okay? On Seder night, I'll stand. Behold, the symbols of your Passover holiday. First and foremost is the matzah. Its significance is twofold. Number one, the Jews had to leave Egypt in haste, and their dough did not have sufficient time to leaven. Number two, the poor bread which they ate in the land of Egypt. But there is more than matzah to the Passover tradition. If you would be so kind, please focus your attention on the dish here at the center of the table. This is your seder plate. The top right-hand corner, we have the shank bone. Directly across from it, here on the left, is the egg, to be either roasted or cooked. Both recall the temple's destruction, as well as the Paschal offering and festival offering brought to the temple when it still stood proud. The shank bone also reminds the Passover observer that God redeemed Israel with an outstretched arm. In the center, please note the bitter herbs made from horseradish. This pungent food is a reminder of the pain, agony, and hardship suffered by the Israelites as they slaved in Egypt. The karpas, or parsley, is set here in the lower left-hand corner, a sign of spring and renewed hope for the future. And finally, here in this corner, we have that food, which reminds us of the mortar used by the Israelites as they built Pharaoh's huge cities. It is called...
Haroset. I bet that's one thing you boys remember, because that's the sweet thing.
As I was saying, the symbols of your Passover holiday. Now, on each table must be a bowl or pitcher of salt water, representing the tears of a people in misery. And finally, we have here Elijah's cup filled with wine. Now, near the conclusion of the Seder, the spirit of the great prophet Elijah is invited into each home to drink from his special cup. Now, according to tradition, Elijah is the forerunner of the coming of the Messiah. And so, gentlemen, I present to you the symbols of your Passover holiday.
There, bravo.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey, what, are you applauding me? Why? I haven't done anything yet. Listen, you guys, I hope you're not forgetting the songs. That's very important at the Seder.
I always liked the songs. Remember when we were kids, Pop used to sing Chad Gad Ya, and he'd sing it faster and faster and faster.
That's right.
None of us could ever keep up with him.
Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya, the Zavin Abba Vidrezu say Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya, Ve'atta Chutra Vehikal Chalba, the Nashach Lashundra, the Zavin Abba Vidrezu say Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya.
So now we're offering live entertainment. Tell me, what time is the next floor show?
I'm just helping them out. They need a hand.
Unfortunately, I need your other hand behind the counter.
All right, you want some dessert? I have some gorgeous cookies.
Oh, sounds great. You know, I'm going to call Benjamin and see what's holding him up, okay? We have a lot to do here.
Yeah.
Well, what are we up to?
Well, I think it's my turn. David gave this scholarly dissertation, and Stuart did a show and tell number. And now, in my own simple way, I'd like to discuss the number 4.
The 4 questions, the 4 cups of wine, and the 4
Sons. For a long time, I was the youngest in the family. And even after Benji was born, it was a few years before he could ask the 4 questions. So it was my part. Ma nishtana halayla chazeh mikol halelot shebachol halelot anu ochlin חמץ ומצה, הלילה הזה כולו מצה, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שיער ירקות, הלילה הזה מרור, שבכל הלילות איננו מטבילין אפילו פעם אחת, הלילה הזה שטף ימין, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבין ובין מסובין, הלילה הזה כולנו מסובין. Why is this night different from all other nights?
On all other nights, we eat leavened or unleavened bread. On this night, why do we eat only unleavened bread?
On all other nights, we eat herbs of any kind. Why on this night only bitter herbs?
On all other nights, we do not even dip our herbs once. Why on this night do we dip them twice?
On all other nights, we eat our meals in any manner. On this night, why do we sit around the table in a reclining position?
Benji's phone was busy. I couldn't get him. Joe, you'll try him in a few minutes.
Well, it doesn't matter. You came back at just the right moment. We recited the 4 questions, and now we need the response.
Well, like Pop always said, it's a very straightforward answer. We were slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt, and the eternal God brought us out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Now, if God had not brought our forefathers out from Egypt, then we, our children, and our children's children might still be enslaved to the Pharaoh of Egypt. Therefore, even were we all wise, all people of understanding, and even if we were all old and well learned in the Torah, it would still be our duty to tell the story of the going out from Egypt. And the more one tells of the departure from Egypt, the more is he to be praised.
That was beautiful, David.
Well, of course. He's the wise son.
Aw, shucks, I guess that makes me the simple son.
What a bum rap. They always stick me with the wicked son.
And Benji?
Well, he's the youngest. He gets whatever's left.
What are you you're talking about the 4 sons? I hope you remember that those 4 sons represent all of mankind.
The wise son asks, what is the meaning of the rules, laws, and customs which the Lord our God has commanded us?
You shall explain to him all the laws of Passover.
And the wicked son asks, what is the meaning of this service to you?
Saying you, he excludes himself, and because he separates himself from the others, he denies a basic principle. You may therefore tell him plainly, as it is written, because of what the Eternal did for me when I came out from Egypt, I do this. For me, not for him. Had he been there, he would not have been redeemed.
The simple son asks, what is this?
Well, to him you shall say, with a strong hand the Eternal brought us forth from Egypt, from the house of bondage.
And what about the son who doesn't even know how to ask?
I'm glad you asked. You tell it to him just as if he had asked. You say, as it is written in the Bible, you shall tell your child on that day, this is done because of what the Eternal did for me when I came forth out of Egypt.
Excellent, boys. I don't think you have any reason to worry. Just remember to buy enough wine, because everybody at the seder table has to drink 4 times.
She's right. The wine or grape juice is a very important symbol at the seder table. It represents joy and celebration. In a manner of speaking, each time our cup is filled, it is a toast to one of the 4 expressions used in the Torah describing Israel's deliverance. First, I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians.
Second, I will deliver you from their bondage.
Third, I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and great judgments.
And fourth, I will take you to me for a people. I will be to you God.
It's a shame your mom and pop won't be here just so they could hear their sons. Do any parent proud. Listen, you can stay here as long as you like. You have any questions, just holler.
Well, fellas, looks like this is going to be a piece of cake. So listen, when you talk to Benji, tell him not to worry about a thing, okay?
Sit down, Stuart. We haven't even looked at the Haggadah yet.
Yeah, I know, but you're the one who's going to lead that.
Come on, Stuart. You know, we never even had to panic in the first place. I'll tell you why. The Haggadah is the guide to the Seder. It tells us everything we need to know. Actually, the word Haggadah means the telling. It contains all of the blessings, prayers, songs, and rituals for the Seder. I once saw an exhibit of fascinating Haggadot from different Jewish communities, from Europe, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, even the United States. And you know, sometimes even the Jews in the concentration camps were able to make their own Haggadot. And while they looked different, they all told the same story and followed pretty much the same order.
I think Benji has a box of them. I'll remind him to bring them.
Okay, well, let's turn to the beginning of the book and review the order.
Why don't you sing it for us, David?
Kadesh urechatz karpas yachatz magid rachatza motzi matza maror korech shulchan orech tzafun barech halel nirtzah.
Hey, that's pretty good, Davey. What does it mean?
Hey, where have you been all these years? Pop always began the same way. He said that seder meant order, and so we follow a certain order at the Passover table. Number 1, recite the Kiddush.
Gee, I never learned the holiday tune.
Me neither.
Don't look at me.
Manny!
Shaw, I didn't actually mean for you to scream.
We're sorry, but none of us know the Passover Kiddush.
Oh, well, calm down. Everybody picks up the cup. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're going to do this properly. We better put these on. Now, we're going to say the words. All right. Everybody at this point picks up this glass, and this marks the beginning of the first cup. And we say as follows. Follow with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachamanu mikol am ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון, את יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים.
Amen. Thanks, Manny. Now it sounds familiar.
Now, remember, if the holiday falls on the Sabbath, you've got to say all these parts in the brackets. Oh, and don't forget, after the Kiddush, the Shehecheyanu.
We know that one. Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has given us life and sustenance and who has brought us to this happy season. I always love that blessing. Naturally, on Saturday night, after Shabbat is over, we have to say the other blessing. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, creator of light and fire.
What else? We drink the wine.
Ah, but don't forget to be leaning to your left side.
We forgot about the pillows. Remember, the Egyptian taskmasters dined in a reclining position. Now we recline on the pillows to show that we are a free people. It's a very important symbol.
Number 2, wash the hands. Without a blessing, that's simple.
Number 3, karpas, eat a green vegetable. Well, let's see, the leader takes a piece of parsley, then everybody at the table takes a piece. Then the leader dips the parsley in salt water and recites,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri ha'adamah. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who creates fruit of the earth.
Oh, and then the leader of the Seder breaks the middle matzah on the special matzah plate.
this is called yahatz, number 4. Oh, and the broken piece of matzah is the afikomen, and it's the dessert of the Passover meal.
And most definitely the fun part of the evening.
Slow down. You two are getting ahead of yourselves. For the time being, just put the afikomen aside.
You boys still talking about Passover?
We're reviewing the seder. Sit down, we're not that busy just
Yeah,
now.
we can use all the help we can get.
Okay, let's see. We're up to number 5 now. We're up to...
Reciting the Passover story. I look forward to this part every year. Now, the leader uncovers the matzah, lifts it up for all to see, and says, Ha lachma anya, this is the bread of affliction which our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. All who are hungry, let them come and celebrate the Passover with us. Now we are here, next year in the land of Israel. Now we are slaves, next year may we be free men.
The plate is put down, the matzah is covered, and the second cup of wine is filled. Then the youngest child at the table asks the 4 questions.
Those you already practiced, but the leader of the seder must uncover the matzah again before he gives the answer. Okay, go on. What's next?
We always take turns around the table. We read the story until we come to the 10 plagues, and then we pick up our spoon and we spill a drop of wine for each plague. Pop said them in Hebrew and we repeated them in English.
Dam,
Blood,
tzvardeya,
frogs,
kinim,
vermin,
arav,
beasts,
tever,
cattle disease,
chin,
boils,
barad,
hail,
arbe,
locusts,
choshech,
darkness,
makat bechorot,
slaying of the firstborn.
But why do we remove a drop from our cup? After all, the Egyptians were our enemies.
Because the suffering of a human being, even of an enemy, means the loss of one drop from the cup of joy. Now, some of the great sages insist that there were actually more than 10 plagues, 50, 200, 250, but everybody agrees that we must be thankful to God for whatever he would have done. Whatever he would have done would have been enough for us. Thus we sing, Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, 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 Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. Illu natan lanu et Torah natan lanu Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu. Dai Dayenu, 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 Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dai Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu.
I'm getting worried about Benji. I think I'll go try him again.
So, must be ready for the meal by now, right?
Stuart sounds like one of the hungry kids at the table. But remember what Rabbi Gamliel said.
Whoever has not explained the Passover offering, the matzah, and the bitter herbs at the seder on Passover has not fulfilled his duty.
I know, and then you point to each one at the table and you read the explanation. And I briefed my brothers about the symbols earlier, so it's time for dinner.
Wrong. We say the second blessing over the wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And we drink the second cup of wine.
Now we're up to number 6. Wash the hands. This time we do say the blessing. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy with his commandments and commanded us concerning the washing of the hands.
Number 7, the motzi matzah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kadeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achelat matzah. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, who made us holy with his commandments and commanded us concerning the eating of the matzah.
And then, Stuart, you can finally have a piece of matzah. As a matter of fact, everybody must have some matzah on the Seder night. The rest of the week, it doesn't matter, as long as you don't eat chametz.
Guys, you're never gonna believe this!
Don't interrupt. We're up to number 8, the blessing of the bitter herbs. We take the bitter herbs, we dip it in the charoset, and we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Blessed are you, eternal our God, who made us holy with his commandments and commanded us concerning the eating of the bitter herbs. And then following the blessing is number 9, making of the Hillel sandwich with bitter herbs and matzah. Then, Stuart, comes dinner, number 10.
Well, that's not so bad. Why, when I was a kid, it always seemed like an eternity.
That's the beauty of the afikomen. Sometime during the meal, the leader slips away from the table and hides the broken matzah. After the dinner, the children look for it, and the child who finds it gets a prize. Sometimes even the adults get into the act. And then we can say the blessings after the meal. Number 11.
Fine, we're almost done. Then we can hear about Benji. I'm a little peeved he didn't take the time to come down.
I agree. Okay, what's next?
The wine cup is raised a third time for the blessing.
We drink again and fill it once more. Now comes the welcoming of Eliyahu HaNavi, Elijah the prophet. We welcome him to the Seder to announce our faith and hope in the coming of the Messiah.
Oh, I like this part. I can remember running to the door, and I had to be the one to open it. And you can believe my eyes were glued to that cup while we sang. Now, Manny, what's that melody again?
Eliyahu HaNavi, Eliyahu HaTishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu HaGiladi, Imhera b'yameinu, Yahavo Eloheinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu HaNavi, Eliyahu HaTishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu HaGiladi.
Now look, fellas, before we conclude the Seder, I plan to do a couple of songs, and I don't expect to be the only one singing.
Oh, there are wonderful songs. For instance, Adirhu, Adirhu, Yimne Beito Bekara, Imhera, Imhera, Yameinu Bekara, El B'nai, B'nai Beitcha Bekara, Bachurhu, Gadolhu, Dagulhu, Yimne Beito Bekara, Vimhera, Vimhera, Yameinu Bekara, El B'nai Beitcha Bekara.
You guys sound terrific.
Thank you.
Are you done yet?
Wait, there's the blessing over the 4th cup of wine, and then the final conclusion, the Shana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem.
L'shana hava, l'shana hava, l'shana hava b'Yerushalayim, l'shana hava, l'shana hava, l'shana hava be'eretz Yisrael, l'shana hava, l'shana hava, l'shana hava b'Yerushalayim, l'shana hava, l'shana hava, l'shana hava be'eretz Yisrael. There's a more recent tradition, too. We add a 5th cup of wine to remind us of Jews and other people who are still not free. They live in oppression. We must always remember them as part of our Seder.
It's a good thing everything's written down in the Haggadah. That's an awful lot to remember.
Don't worry. A Seder is a time for celebration, not a test. If by chance you make a mistake the first night, you've got the second Seder to remedy it.
Oh, no. That's right. We have to do this twice.
And don't forget to go to synagogue, especially the first 2 and last 2 mornings of the holiday. Those are the holy days.
Well, Professor, are we through yet?
Okay, Joe, I know you're dying to tell us why Benji never showed.
Well, before he does, I'd just like to congratulate everybody here on a job well done. I know it's not the same as having Mom and Pop with us, but at least we know we won't disgrace them.
If the two of you are finished patting yourselves on the back, I'll tell you why our baby brother did not bother to join us. It's because Mom and Pop are sitting in his dorm room right now. Benji flew them up this afternoon. He wanted to surprise us.
What?
Are you kidding?
Come on, they've been waiting.
This is great. Pop and Mom are coming up for Seder. Manny, your Lamed Vavnik was right. God takes care of everything. Here, let me give you something for lunch.
No. I'll take back my yarmulkes, however.
Hey, do you think Pop will still let me do my symbols of Passover?
I thought you were the one who didn't want to be included.
Well, I know, but such a sharp presentation, it seems a shame to waste it, you know. Thanks, Manny.
Bye, Manny.
Goodbye, boys. So after all that, imagine it was the young one who took care of everything. And to think he didn't even ask for any help.
Makes perfect sense to me. All you have to do is read the Haggadah.
All right, Smarty Pants, what would you find there?
How about the fourth son? The one who didn't know how to ask.
Oh, Manny Moskowitz, you are something else.
אחד מי יודע, אחד אני יודע, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ, שניים מי יודע, שניים אני יודע, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ, שלושה מי יודע, שלושה אני יודע, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ, ארבעה מי יודע, ארבעה אני יודע, ארבעה אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ, חמישה מי יודע, חמישה אני יודע, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבעה אמהות, שלושה אהבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ.